Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to get started. That's okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Community Wellness Panel Discussion. My name is NCBEMO. I am an attorney at Legal Aid of North Carolina, and I represent individual clients and community groups to focus on housing and community development matters. I will be the facilitator guiding us through our discussion topics today. We have some knowledgeable and engaging panel speakers here with us today, and they will discuss different aspects of community wellness in Rocky Mount. As you hear from the speakers, please feel free to write your questions down. There are some index cards on your table, and we will have a question and answer session at the end. We'll try to get through as many questions as we can. So we're going to get started with viewing a short introductory video.
Rocky Mount is North Carolina's Black Belt. It's where the majority of Black people are.
It's a region of persistent poverty, with 63% African American and about 33% white.
But if Rocky Mount is anything, we are a place where community leads and leaders follow.
We want everybody, including people of color and low-income people, to participate in decision-making and also be the beneficiaries. And so now we have people on the city council who represent people whose voices have not been heard. One of the city councilmen lives in Fargo.
There was no access to fresh, affordable food. So we said, let me try to produce food. We have students that are learning how to grow, and they're learning what you're doing is making a difference.
Another councilman runs a federally qualified health center.
We have been able to morph whatever the community needs us to do. We were bounded to be a training place, a place where businesses could come and hire people that did not have the opportunity to work in industrial settings.
We have to pay attention to all. You can't just do health accessibility. You can't just do job creation. It's all very interrelated.
What people can learn from Rocky Mount is people have to participate. Rocky Mount has more than 20 neighborhood associations. Those neighborhood associations identify the fact that there was not enough housing, and that there needed to be downtown growth and development. And then they came to the city council, not with a complaint, but with solutions. And today, we have more than 40 Black-owned businesses that are located in or close to downtown. So we know it's working. It's happening. And it is happening because the city is not only reinvesting dollars, reinvesting in relationships.
So based upon the video just presented, the City of Rocky Mount and its local community leaders have an expansive view of community wellness and economic advancement. This view encompasses the clear connection between the opportunity for health, workforce development, job creation, economic revitalization, and expanded affordable housing strategies, especially within the city's historically under-resourced communities. The City of Rocky Mount has been working with community members to focus on equitable housing and community development initiatives. Today, the panel speakers will share different aspects of community wellness which support equitable housing and community development in Rocky Mount. The areas of discussion will focus on affordable housing, downtown revitalization, and other community health initiatives. So our first discussion topic is about affordable housing. There is a community-centered health initiative called Transforming Rocky Mount, which promotes community-led systemic change in Rocky Mount. Panelist Cooper Blackwell is the Vice President of Innovation at Opportunities Industrialization Center, OIC, in Rocky Mount, and he is also a young professional leader. Cooper Blackwell will provide an overview of Transforming Rocky Mount, including the core partners, goals, and objectives of this multi-sector initiative. Please join me in welcoming Cooper Blackwell.
Excellent. Hello again. Hello. Glad to be on this side of the table. Glad to be on all parts of the community. Glad to be a part of the community and glad to be here. I'm Cooper Blackwell. Again, I'm the coordinator for Transforming Rocky Mount Collaborative, which is an initiative that was put together by OIC of Rocky Mount along with our partners at NCBEMO and the Legal Aid North Carolina. We've been working for some years in proving racial segregation as a non-medical driver of poor health outcomes. We understand that the challenge that Rocky Mount and like Black America is facing is that, you know, our people have been historically divested in. They have been historically, resources have been pulled away from our people in our community, and we have spent a lot of our times racking our brains about, you know, how do we get what's ours, what our ancestors bled for, and how do we make a claim for ourselves. OIC partnered with NCBEMO, who is a community voice in our community, to work with community residents and looking at the issues that they were facing in their neighborhoods. We did a study in 2018 to about 2021 that looked at 14 targeted areas of opportunity. These are neighborhoods around the city that you know, have, according to a topology map in the 2014 Crossroads to Prosperity report, something you can find online, showed that these neighborhoods were historically lacking. They were lacking investment, they were lacking health support services, grocery stores, and other institutions that lead to security of the people. So these areas, which, you know, it was shown to have evidence of poor activity, is, you know, we saw as areas of opportunity. So we wanted to go into these neighborhoods and work with legal aid to help find people that are already invested into the neighborhood associations or invested into their local problems, to start talking about what the issues they're dealing with and connect that back to our health data. We serve at OIC OIC is a federally qualified health center. We also do workforce development training, but we serve about 16,000 patients. So we wanted to start with our population base and try to look in these 14 neighborhoods to see if we had any patients that were also community residents that were interested in talking about these issues. So we looked at our patient data and discovered that there are overlapping chronic diseases that exist in every one of these neighborhoods. That means that if you live in one neighborhood juxtaposed to one that might be much better off, you know, you are susceptible to diabetes, obesity, and other horrible chronic diseases, simply because of where you live. And the root cause of that we found to be was racial segregation. It was intentional pushing of black people into concentrated areas that did not have schools that were getting public investment, that does not have grocery stores and other resources where people can go and access to improve their lives. With this data, we've been able, now we're trying to figure out the best way to display it and to help community understand and unpack their neighborhood, the issues in their neighborhood. But this data has the potential to expose the struggle that black people are dealing with all over America, to show funders, people that are interested in the health of our community, to be able to really build a better base for economic improvement. So Ms. Warren here, along with Ms. Taylor, and everybody here at this table really has been involved in improving community health. We're helping people understand their role in community-centered health and helping people work together to create a collaborative environment where we are focused on the issues that white supremacy has brought about, and we're focused on really improving ourselves, finding ways to increase our political capital, our black businesses, our ability to invest in our own businesses, and really take advantage of black power, which is important to unraveling the struggle that we've been dealing with. So I guess that's an overview very shabbily done, transforming Rocky Mount. Here today we have experts on the panel, community experts on the panel that has really been helping people take advantage of their own health, their own economic insecurity, their ability to advocate for themselves, and for us to really show that our little science project, you know, is a national model. Understanding the community center health is a national model for Black progress in communities that have been divested, that do not have investment. So, yeah.
Thank you, Cooper. Thank you so much for giving that overview and sharing how this important community-led initiative could serve as a model. Our next panel speaker is Mary Warren. Ms. Warren has been a community leader in Rocky Mount for over 3 decades. She started her journey as a leader of the neighborhood-based Southeast Rocky Mount Community Organization over 30 years ago. She is currently a member of a Rocky Mount community-based group called the Community Academy. Ms. Warren will share some of her remarks about her experience as a community leader. And she will also discuss how the Community Academy group plays a critical role in facilitating community improvements by increasing community voices and by participating in decision-making processes that affect the needs of predominantly Black and under-resourced neighborhoods. Please welcome Ms. Mary Warren.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Mary Warren. I am a resident of Rocky Mount, living in the Southeast Rocky Mount neighborhood. I'm here to talk about the power of strong, low-income resident leadership and the role grassroots leaders in Rocky Mount, like me, are playing to promote system change to improve housing and health inequities and other conditions in the city, under-resourced neighborhood. As you would learn as I tell my story about my community activism, I enjoyed many partnerships and relationships, fantastic organization leadership over the years. They have been the wind beneath my knees, beneath my wings. My journey as a neighborhood leader began in 1995, almost 30 years ago. To help my aging parents, I returned home from Connecticut. After I finished high school, I ran away from the country. I moved, when I returned back to Rocky Mount, my parents had moved into the city. So I moved to Rocky Mount, I found a job, and I bought my first home in the Southeast Rocky Mount community. That was during the time when the white flight had just begun. And as the white flight had just begun, one of my friends saw the condition in the neighborhood, and she says, Mary, you need to start a community organization. And I didn't have a clue how to get started, but she told me to go to the Nash Edgecombe Wilson. At that time, it was called NEED. And on the NEED, they told me to start a petition to find out who lives in the neighborhood. They sent me to Reverend J.O. Thorne at the Greater Mount Hermon Church. And from that point, he was the one that introduced me to people that I worked with to start an organization called the Eagle Watch organization. The Eagle Watch organization was just a continuation. As I worked in the community, I learned that there was a community group called Community in Action. But over the years, they had kind of like dwindled down. So I founded Eagle Watch Community Organization, and we worked very closely with a lot of people. One of the people that really got me started was Lamont Wiggins. He introduced me to the importance of the city council and the role that the city council played for people. I didn't have a clue what the city council was all about, but relationships and partnerships really made a difference, because he was just the first one. Need was the first one to come along with Lamont Wiggins, and over the years I had the opportunity to meet such fantastic people, because as Eagle Watch, we received a grant with the hospital, National General Hospital, and it was National General Hospital and the United Methodist Church. And that opportunity, I had the opportunity to meet Reverend Richard Joyner. And he was the one that came in and worked with the community. And as that relationship, that was a 3-year project. But during that time, when that project ended, I had the opportunity, Angela Brown, I had been working with Angela Brown ever since she was on the city council, but she was the one to come in to help transform the Clark Street project over to the community. That's when we became Southeast Rocky Mount Community Organization, because all the areas in our community that wasn't represented, we, under the leadership of Angela Bryan and Reverend Joyner, we was able to identify all these areas, and that's where we became the Southeast Rocky Mount Community Organization. Okay. I served as president of that organization for years. Southeast Rocky Mount neighborhood located close to downtown, where poverty, unemployment is very broad in our neighborhood. These conditions are centralized in the city on the resource community like Simcoe. Our neighborhood was at risk in conforming our neighborhood, which is at risk, is conforming many challenges such as high poverty, joblessness, drugs, crime, violence, school dropout, pregnancy, and other problems, vacant houses and other problems. However, this is just a portion of the story. Every neighborhood have bad things, but I look at the good. I want to pay special attention to the good things that are happening in our neighborhood. Currently, we have a young investor that came into our neighborhood and established some houses by the name of Charles Robinson, Homes for Seniors. He came into our neighborhood and he have Homes for Seniors. And I'm just so happy to know that in a neighborhood where there's a lot of poverty, but we know that that's just part of the story, because as we work together, we know that things are changing. And another thing, positive thing that happened in our neighborhood, a young lady that moved here from New York by the name of Eki. I can't pronounce her last name. But anyway, she's an entrepreneur. And she bought the house at 703 Clark Street. That was the house that we used as the Eagle Watch house when we started the organization years ago. We had activities there for the seniors and the young people. And I'm just so happy now with Eki coming to the community. Her dreams are to work with young people. Eki has a nonprofit that she founded in New York. And she's also going to be doing a project out of the community. And one of the things that excites me so much, because there's so much untapped talent in the neighborhood, and to have someone to come in and actually work hand on hand with people. Just this weekend, Eki was there and we did a neighborhood cleanup. So we're just so happy to see our new partnerships making changes in the city of Rocky Mount. Okay, now, just to finish, because I'm old folks talk a lot.
Go ahead. You use enough minutes. Go ahead.
I just want to make sure, when I say the wings beneath my feet, Community Academy have really been there for not only Southeast Rocky Mountain, but Community Academy. The Community Academy activities are based upon the concept that low-income neighborhood residents who are already part of strong community-based networks can serve as effective grassroots leaders by getting others involved in community efforts. The Community Academy provides training and support service to promote such leadership so that when community members are mobilized, they possess the capacity to function as powerful change agents to raise their voices and make authentic demands for neighborhood improvements and changes. The Community Academy furnish low-income residents of unresourced neighborhoods with the capacity building services consist of training, education, leadership development, activities designed to boost the knowledge, competency, and competence of such residents to encourage grassroots leaders like myself. Several recent Community Academy education activities focus on topics such as housing. Wait a minute, go back. Okay. Anyway, I would just like to see y'all making me nervous. I would just like to say that Community Academy, I've been with them for 4 or 5 plus years. I can't remember how much, but this group, Southeast Rocky Mountain organization, kind of like doing the down over the years, but being connected with Community Academy give us the training, the voice to know what's going on and to be able to stand and to speak. I am just so excited to be a part of a group that empower low-income neighborhoods in the city of Rocky Mountain so that we can have a voice in making changes when it comes to speaking at the city council and other areas, having our voice being heard as we move forward for our neighborhood. And I'm just going to end right now by saying that, like I said, I've talked a lot. But I would just like to end by saying that I am so honored to be speaking before you and to lift up our neighborhood, because people, when they look at Southeast Rocky Mountain, they only see the worst in Southeast Rocky Mountain. But there are great people in Southeast Rocky Mountain, and the best is yet to come. And I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. You did a great job. Thank you for Thank you so much for sharing your inspiring experiences with us. Our next speaker is Yolanda Taylor. Yolanda Taylor is the lead attorney at the Center for Community Law and Equity. Yolanda practices in the areas of housing justice, health equity, affordable housing, and community economic development law. Today, Yolanda will share information about housing market trends. She will also discuss some background information about the City of Rocky Mount's Affordable Housing Strategic Plan and provide a brief overview of 2 of the elements of the plan. Please welcome Yolanda Taylor.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here presenting before the North Carolina Black elected municipal officials. And it's also an honor to still be on the stage with these amazing community leaders and staff for the City of Rocky Mount. And just to tie back briefly to what Cooper said about transforming Rocky Mount, I will say to be a part of that cohort that's funded by Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation has been one of the most important happenings or the gem of my professional career. And I started with you guys when I was the managing attorney of legal aid, standing on the shoulders of my predecessor, Sharon Bay Christopher, who's here in the audience today, who was the manager and attorney of legal aid before I became the managing attorney of legal aid. And it was here in Rocky Mount where I discovered the practice of community economic development law. So going into my slides, I am going to talk about a key component of that community center health work that Transforming Rocky Mount does, and that is housing. Darius, you can go to the next slide. Okay. Oh, thank you. What? Oh, okay, you gave it to me. All right, okay. So I'm going to talk about the City of Rocky Mount's Affordable Housing Strategic Plan, but even go deeper and broader than that. I'm going to talk about the affordable housing crisis, something that we all know about, right? Something that we cannot stop hearing about. We know that in 2020, in the midst of a pandemic, something counterintuitive happened. Something crazy happened in the housing market. Demand went up. Despite the high unemployment rate, we shifted into a housing boom. Because why? In 2020, people realized, I don't want to live in this crowded situation. I don't want to live in New York City. I need space, And also, we know that the work policies shifted to a work from home policy. So a combination of that and these other combinations here created what I like to refer to as a perfect cocktail that made our market one of the highest markets, out there, and it still is one of the hottest market. And I'm talking about the Triangle area more specifically, which is beginning to impact surrounding areas like Rocky Mount. Rocky Mount has been referred to as the greater area of the Triangle. So just recently, I want to say, though, this has been a roller coaster ride, because in 2020, it was this huge boom. No one could find housing. We saw the news reports of people standing in line, needing a cash bid to buy housing. But 10 days ago, Goldman Sachs issued a prediction that seems to think that we're going to see the bottom, or that the housing market trend is about to go down somewhat. And he says this prediction is going to be through year 2026, or I should say Goldman Sachs, the company or bank, has stated that this is going to be a prediction through 2026, because they feel like how the housing market is stabilizing. And just this morning, I was reading Zillow. Zillow predicts this morning that the market has bottomed out. But I will say that we live in a pretty much insulated market, and I'm talking about the Triangle area where it still is a hot market. But they forecast that we're about to see a gridlock, and because of this shifting in housing market trends, local cities and municipalities will probably have to shift as well to try to predict what will be the need for housing in your local community, and Rocky Mount has done that. And we're still seeing strained affordability as well. We're still seeing strained affordability caused by high interest rates. Before the pandemic, a lot of people, including myself, I'm blessed, have an interest rate of 3.3%. We know that those mortgage interest rates are now a little above 6%. So that is also increasing the affordability strain. It's increasing homelessness. It's increasing evictions. It's increasing a lot of things. So, and we still, in combination, we have historic low housing supply. So there's a debate that goes on between people who call themselves yes in my backyard and people who are being labeled as no in my backyard folks as to what do we do to solve this problem. The unprecedented growth in the Triangle will no doubt impact Rocky Mount, and Rocky Mount is preparing for that growth. Wilson is too, and if you live near or around a metro area, I know Winston-Salem is also, I see Councilwoman Dee Harris, right? Adams, that's right, I'm sorry. But I see you in the audience too, and I do work there. And we know that the feds are trying to inject the market, to try to combat inflation. And so the high mortgage rates, the stagnant wages, a lot of people's wages have not kept up with the pace of growth in the triangle, nor are people wages around here rising unless the city council decides to give them a hazard pay or something like that. Most people's wages are stagnant. And so all of this has created this perfect cocktail. So because of this roller coaster shift that we're seeing here, what I want to talk about specifically is what Rocky Mount is doing to plan for this growth and to combat this growth. And you will also hear this from Rocky Mount staff that will speak after me. They came up with an affordable housing strategic plan. I'm sorry. So I'm going to talk about that. The reason why they did it, again, is because this whole area and the triangle has been expanded to cities and towns in Johnson County, Harnett County, and Chatham County. And I wanted to show this particular slide because it shows here how the growth in Raleigh or Wake County has increased. Wake County is one of the fastest growing counties in North Carolina. In 2010, Wake County had a population growth of 900,993. As of 2020 census data, that growth has increased to 1.1 million. That's an increase of 228,417. They're expecting by 2050, it can be even higher. So this market in Wake County and the surrounding area, again, is impacting Rocky Mount. I'm trying to make this go. Okay, and this is a map that was created by Carolina Demography. If you guys know geology, you know where Nash and Edgecombe County is. It's in a light green area near Wake County, so it's kind of central. But I want to say, well, it's east, but it's closer to to Wake County. Rocky Mount has had a population loss for quite some time. This map predicts that by 2050, Rocky Mount or Nash and Edgecombe counties will go from population loss, which is the real light, faint green, to like the lime green color, seeing a growth that is maybe a little less than the state, but there will be a growth instead of a loss. So these changes are definitely coming. And so as stated, Rocky Mount in understanding this roller coaster ride in the housing market and understanding that people are going to be priced out of the triangle. People are not going to be able to afford to live in Raleigh and Durham or even Wendell anymore. I live in Wake Forest, maybe not Wake Forest anymore, or Zebulon. People are going to want to live somewhere. And since Raleigh is only 45 miles away from Rocky Mount is a prime place because also it's the mini Atlanta. It's a prime place to live, especially for people of color who, because of the race wealth gap in America, may be the ones at the back of the housing bus, is what I like to say when it comes to being able to access home ownership and affordability. So they created a strategic plan, and this affordable housing strategic plan. The steering committee of the Community Academy was involved in helping create that plan. This here states that, the need for affordable housing in Rocky Mount is increasing as stated because of Raleigh, and the city is estimated to have about 26,000 total housing units, which is not enough for the anticipated growth. The annual median income in Rocky Mount is $57,700 compared with Raleigh's AMI, which is $95,700 annually. So that means that half of the people make, less than $95,700 in Raleigh, and half of the people make above $95,700 in the Raleigh metropolitan statistical area, which includes Cary. Okay, so as stated, they created a strategic affordable housing plan. And there were 9 recommendations. I'm just going to talk about 2 of those. Here we have, the Community Academy recommended passing a general obligation bond. We don't know the status of that, so I'm not going to get into the details around that. But 2 of the other recommendations that have seen action and traction has been a modification of the city's accessory dwelling unit. They added this ordinance because this gives an opportunity for those who may have the space or a accessory dwelling unit already in their yard, just not using it for housing, this gives them an opportunity to house a loved one who may need affordable housing. It also gives people who may not have an extra revenue stream an opportunity to now have a revenue stream as well. So we see that places like Raleigh also has an ADU. I mean, this is a growing trend in a lot of places to have this ordinance in place to create affordable housing opportunity. So Rocky Mount did move forward with that, and it was passed by a majority of the city council members. Some of them, two of them I see, I don't know, forgive me if I miss anyone, but I at least see two city council members sitting here today who voted for that. The city also modified its density bonus policy. A density bonus is a zoning tool that permits developers to build more housing units, taller buildings, or more floor space than normally allowed in exchange for providing a stated public benefit like affordable housing. So we're seeing, like in places like Raleigh, that's what they want to build. There's so many rezoning request hearings because people want to build taller 40-story buildings. They want more space. So this can be used as a tool to incentivize developers to build affordable housing and also to possibly attract them to come to Rocky Mount. The second thing I want to talk about is the 2024 budget that the City Council recently passed, and it was approved. Prior to this budget, the previous town manager had allocated $3 million towards affordable housing. This particular budget maintains at $1.2 million in funding to support affordable housing. And there's also this need to plan for the future that city leaders are talking about now, where they would allocate $1 million for a citywide comprehension plan update. And I'm seeing a lot of places around Raleigh and Durham doing that. Knightdale is doing that. The town of Wake Forest just recently updated its comprehension plan. And they also are creating a downtown plan as well. And I think Joseph may speak more about the downtown revitalization plan. And they're also going to do a more comprehensive housing plan. We know neighboring Wilson just did that last fall or last winter. They created their housing plan as well. So these are things that local governments are looking at. Some local governments who never had a town manager, like the town of Roseville, they just recently hired a town manager. Because what are you going to do to anticipate the unprecedented growth in your area? And I know in places like where, Councilwoman Adams is, Winston-Salem is growing. And, there are eviction problems, and, there's housing justice now, and, there are tenants being evicted. So a lot of towns and a lot of cities represented here, I know, are grappling with safe, adequate housing, because you may have housing, but maybe it's not safe and it's not adequate. But also, you may need to look towards what can you do to create affordable housing opportunity, because once that market is triggered, it benefits the wealthy if intentional strategies are not put into place to protect and safeguard historically Black communities and low wealth communities. And Alicia's standing up. And I'm done. I landed that plane. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Yolanda, for your insightful remarks about affordable housing. Our next speaker is Cornelia McGee, who is the director of the City of Rocky Mount's Community Development Department. The mission of the Community Development Department is to advance community well-being by revitalizing neighborhoods, providing quality affordable housing, and facilitating business and economic opportunity. In her remarks, Ms. McGee will discuss city-sponsored housing programs that promote neighborhood stability and support the safety and preservation of older homes and neighborhoods. Please welcome Cornelia McGee.
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Cornelia McGee, the director of the City of Rocky Mount Community Development Office. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to come today and speak to you during your conference. Today, I will be speaking to you on neighborhood stability and preservation. I would like to start by sharing with you our mission for our department. The mission is to advance community well-being by revitalizing neighborhoods, providing quality, affordable housing, and facilitating business and economic opportunity. The City of Rocky Mount offers 4 housing programs to support stabilizing, preserving, and restoring neighborhoods. The City Department of Community Development administers those programs. The first program I'd like to share with you is the Urgent Repair Program. The Urgent Repair Program goal is to address and alleviate health hazards in homes that are occupied by homeowners. Residents who are eligible for this program must earn below 50% of the area median income. They also must have a special need. That special need is elderly, 62 years or older, disabled, single parent, someone in a household with more than 5 people, children in a home that may be exposed to lead hazards, or a military veteran. These funds that support the Urgent Repair Program through a grant through North Carolina Housing Finance, Housing Trust Funds in the amount of $132,000, and then the City of Rocky Mount General Fund supports it also with an additional $200,000. This program, as I mentioned earlier, is geared towards assisting very low to extremely low income households. The second program that we administer is the Housing Repair Program. This program, too, is also for owner-occupied occupants. One of the criteria for this program is that it's required that the home must be at least 40 years old or older. The income qualifications for this program, you must be between 50 to 80% of the area median income. It does require you in all of our programs to be current on your taxes, to have homeowners insurance as some of the qualifications. The funding for this program is supported through funds through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, $125,000, and the City of Rocky Mount General Fund supports it with $175,000. In addition, we have the Matching Rebate Program, which is a very popular program. This particular program is for owners who may reside in the property or also for owners who may have tenants in their properties. So investor property owners may have the opportunity to apply for this program. There are no income qualifications for this program. The home does have to be at least 40 years old. This is a very popular program because it allows someone to address some of the repairs, maintenance repairs that may be needed in an older home. And the funding source is the city's general fund. The last program is the Workforce Housing Repair Program. The Workforce Housing Repair Program is also for someone who owns their home and resides in it, but their income can be between 81% to 125% of the area median income. This program is targeted to workforce families. Workforce families would be someone who's a teacher, police officer, firefighter, worker who may work in a factory. It could also be a retiree whose income may be more than the income of 80% or less of the area median income. This program too focuses on our whole older housing stock that's at least 40 years of age. The general fund also supports this program with $250,000. I would like to mention that our city council annually sets aside $700,000 annually to support these 4 housing programs. In addition, the American Rescue Plan funds also support these programs. Starting last year, for the next 3 years, the ARPA funds that were designated to support affordable housing, $3 million, $1.5 million was set aside to support some of our housing programs that I just mentioned, and some that I will be speaking to on in a few moments. Another initiative I'd like to discuss is the Council Housing Incentive Grant Program. It was established in 2006 as a program to provide support to community organizations and agencies involved in improving housing conditions or supplying affordable housing to the residents of Rocky Mount. In 2019, the council increased the annual appropriation to $500,000, up from the original amount of $150,000. Additionally, the program was expanded to local developers. Projects were evaluated by the return on investment and the amount of units created. So we're also too excited about this program because it allows us to focus in some of our targeted neighborhoods of opportunities to incentivize developers with development projects, as well as nonprofit entities, for-profit businesses as well. In addition to the housing incentive program, we have community wealth building. Community wealth building is an economic development program designed to strengthen communities through home ownership. Along with the funding that has been set aside as a result of our American Rescue Plan funds, the city can provide technical and project management assistance. Thus far, the city has completed 2 projects with the Berkshire Acres Community Neighborhood Association, or Community Association. Those 2 projects involved 1816 Duncan Drive, which was an acquisition of the Berkshire Acres Community Association acquiring the property and then rehabilitating the property and then turning around, selling the property, taking the net proceeds from that sale and investing it back into the community in acquiring an additional property. That additional property is 701 Lincoln Drive, which are to the left, on your right, that shows the before picture, the acquiring of the property, and then the picture on the far bottom is the after picture. So as a result of acquiring the property, they demolished the existing property and then partnered with a contractor to construct the home. And as a result, now that home is on the market for sale. This is an example of the wealth building model. We do have 2 additional projects, community wealth building projects that are underway with 2 of our local churches, Truth Tabernacle Ministries and the East End Missionary Baptist Church. '23 key initiatives. The Community Development Department initiatives include the partnership with the Southeastern North Carolina Community Development Corporation, which is an arm of the Rocky Mount Housing Authority. The City of Rocky Mount partnered with Southeastern North Carolina CDC to construct 8 new single-family homes. These homes are anticipated to be available during the month of July. It's my understanding from the CEO of the Southeastern North Carolina CDC that it's anticipated that the final inspection and certificate of occupancy will be issued in early August of 2023. This program was supported with home funds through the City of Rocky Mount and Down East Home Consortium, as well as the City of Rocky Mount general funds. So we look forward to providing homes, 8 homes. Here in this photo, you can see 2 of the new construction of homes, but it's a total of 8 single-family homes that will be available to families whose income is 60% or less of the area median income. This next slide highlights Beale Street redevelopment, which is an initiative that will be phase 2 Beale Street. The city in 2008 designated Beale Street as a redevelopment area. And since that time, in 2017, the Beale Street Square was constructed, which is an 80-unit low-income housing tax credit project that was done. There were 38 parcels remaining as a result of the city acquiring those properties. The second phase of Beale Street, we anticipate embarking on that project and moving forward later this year, partnering with a developer to construct single-family housing units, townhomes, and duplexes. But the overall goal is to create opportunities for home ownership. This partnership is with the Redevelopment Commission of the City of Rocky Mount. The next initiative that I'd like to share with you very briefly, the city has looked at ways of creating opportunities for home ownership, particularly for low to moderate income families. In 2020, the City Community Development Department set aside funds in their budget through U.S. Department of Housing Development, HUD CDBG funds for assistance with down payment assistance. The down payment assistance is up to $25,000 to assist low to moderate income families with first-time homeowners opportunity to become homeowners. They are required to complete a home buyer education class before proceeding and recommitting funds to assist them. That program so far has worked well. We're in year 3, and so we've had the opportunity to assist 8 first-time home buyers thus far, and we anticipate in this upcoming year to assist 4 additional homeowners through this down payment assistance program. The Enhanced Down Payment Assistance Program is a program that's in draft. It has not been approved by the City Council. We anticipate this year bringing it before the council, but it is a program that we want to look at expanding it to workforce housing households. This program would allow us to expand it to up from 80% of AMI to 120% of AMI. We want to make sure that we're also working with our workforce housing population to incentivize and create opportunities so that they too can become first-time home buyers. This program would focus on providing up to, and as I mentioned, this is a draft, so it's not official yet. We're proposing up to $50,000 in down payment assistance to assist up to workforce housing households. And lastly, I hear the alarm clock ringing on me. But the last slide I would like to share that we're excited about is downtown affordable housing. Particularly here, right here, in our back door behind us is the 5 Points Crossing. 5 Points Crossing, there's a partnership with the Woda Cooper Company led to a construction of affordable housing called 5 Points. The project will provide up to 50 affordable housing units for residents that earn up to 60% of the area median income. 28 of the units will be 1 bedrooms, 22 of the units will be 2 bedrooms. The project is anticipated to be completed by October 2023. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Cornelia, for sharing some strategies that the city of Rocky Mount is using to address housing and community development. We are moving right along, and our next topic of discussion is about downtown revitalization. Downtown Rocky Mount fosters creative innovation. Rocky Mount's cultivation of a creative economy has become a dominant economic driver in northeastern North Carolina. Our next speaker is Joseph Bukuk, who is the City of Rocky Mount's Deputy Director of Development Services. Joseph will discuss how Rocky Mount is creating a vibrant and attractive city center that is both economically successful and a great place to live, work, and play. Please welcome Joseph Bukuk.
Good afternoon. I know after lunch I can see in the faces, y'all. This is not the easiest thing to sit through, but I'm so pleased to be here this afternoon and present this information. As Alicia noted, my name is Joseph Bokuk. I presently serve as the Deputy Director with the City of Rocky Mount's Development Services Department. I've worked with the city since 2008 and have enjoyed the time there, seeing a lot of ideas come to life in our downtown. I grew up in Tarboro, which is just down the road from here in Edgecombe County. Come from a family who lived in the area for many years, since being enslaved. But my family has taken pride in being part of the culture and promoting the history of this area. I had a family member at a recent reunion say we went from Coolmore Plantation to Cadillacs. Again, just so honored to stand before this group. Often a community's outward appearance is indicative of its social, economic, and political spirits, and that certainly rings true for downtown Rocky Mount. Investors, business prospects, tourists, and residents routinely judge a community by its outward appearance. Probably the greatest showcase of our downtown are the 750,000 annual Amtrak passengers that are provided a glimpse of Rocky Mount as they pass through our living room on the railroad that dissects our downtown. It might not be the most evident as we sit here, but about 27 trains on average come through downtown. The revitalization of downtown is as much about the revitalization of the Twin County area as a whole as it is about the physical transformation of Rocky Mount. By enhancing the quality of life downtown through continued commercial and office redevelopment and introducing new housing options in the immediate area, we can offer amenities to spur economic growth through tourism and commerce while attracting and retaining young talent necessary for industrial recruitment. Our downtown revitalization is very much an economic development tool for the entire region. Our aim for the better part of the last 20 years has been to recreate the premier destination to live, work, shop, and socialize in Rocky Mount. Downtown bridges the best of the area's past with promise for the future. The rich antiquity of the bricks and mortar complemented by the growth of community spirit. Main Street is where Nash and Edgecombe County meet, the heart of our community. As a planner, the aspect that's provided me the most pleasure is the fact that the revitalization effort has been one led by the community and implemented with true public-private partnerships. Over the last 20 years, the city has invested somewhere in the ballpark of $125 million in revitalization projects downtown. The most impactful being the building we're sitting in today, the Rocky Mount Event Center, the story of which, how this place came to be, could be a presentation in itself. The champion manager and city council that had the vision to make it happen, the self-destructive, self-loathing naysayers that sought to prevent the construction of a beacon for opportunity that continues to exceed expectations. This morning I wasn't able to join. My son was competing in the basketball tournament. 8 courts of kids playing ball all day through the evening, bringing people from all over the state, all over the southeast region here to Rocky Mount. But this was a $47 million venture completed in 2018, about 5 years ago. That's, again, the center to a variety of social functions, but also home to a health center, which is vital to the well-being for the historically underserved residents in the adjacent neighborhoods. Also, a project the city led in the downtown was the rehab of the historic train station, which was completed in 2000, that anchors the south end of downtown and welcomes travelers and also provide office space for tenants like the Rocky Mount Chamber of Commerce. The Imperial Center across the tracks here is a former tobacco processing facility renovated in 2006 that's been adaptively reused as the epicenter for arts, containing a children's museum, arts gallery, theater, and a planetarium. There's the Fire Museum, the Brasmell Memorial Library, the Veterans Memorial, many projects. Then there's the block, the Douglas Block, which was the economic hub for the region's black residents during segregation. Over time, the buildings had fallen into disrepair, practically caving in on themselves. If it wasn't for the city council being able to identify what the buildings once meant symbolically, I'm certain their history would have been done away with. But the city was able to leverage $7.5 million from state and federal sources with the help of our representative at the federal level to preserve and promote the history and rebirth black entrepreneurial spirit in downtown when the renovations were completed in 2011. Then there was a streetscape enhancement project completed around the same time that connected everything together, adding emphasis on the pedestrian experience. The sidewalks were significantly widened, pedestrian scale lighting installed, benches placed, and street trees and flowers to add as a buffer. Again, as a planner, I have to highlight that the City of Rocky Mount utilized a number of tools with community input to develop the plans that saw these projects come to fruition. There was a Douglas Block plan, a streetscape plan, and comprehensive downtown plan. The process started with a community visioning and charrette for the downtown, which was led by city staff and assisted by the North Carolina Main Street program. These public input sessions help the community look at downtown as an asset worth saving rather than the dying relic it was becoming. City staff working with stakeholders secured various resources, including but not limited to HUD, EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, new market tax credits, brownfield tax credits, historic preservation tax credits, Main Street Solution Funds, rural center funding, and grants from the Golden Leaf Foundation. So you have to be able to identify the resources, have the want for things to happen, and then make those connections to bring things about. There are a number of groups that play a major role in the development and implementation of the aforementioned plans. The city's Central City Revitalization Panel. There's a group called Downtown Renaissance that aids in property acquisition and renovation. The city's Historic Preservation Commission that provides support for the history of the buildings. Preservation Rocky Mount, also a technical support and communication aid. Downtown Merchants Association, who are there to help communicate the progress that we're seeing. Most importantly, we have a city council that remains committed to seeing the downtown thrive. They understand that downtown has the greatest concentration of historic assets, where generations hold fond memories, and their preservation is sound economic development that also strengthens community character, commerce, personality, and appearance. I've had the pleasure of working with each of the members on the panel, Ms. Sue Perry Cole, on different initiatives here. There was a corridor study that was really kicked off by the Community Academy group, identifying that recent plans for downtown did not factor in the neighborhoods adjacent to downtown. They didn't have participation in the process. So we embarked on another planning process, an award-winning planning process. Mrs. Sue Perry Cole was recognized by the North Carolina Association of Planners as the Citizen Planner of the Year back in 2021. So again, it's that type of community engagement that's vital to seeing, the vision of you all, the leadership, really take hold and take off. On top of the state and federal assistance that the city has utilized, we, the city of Rocky Mount, have in place our own package of incentives designed to lure investment into our downtown. So I'll go over a few of those. One being the Residential Production Grant Program. This is intended to fund development of housing within downtown. Over time, people have moved away from downtown. This used to be the heart of it all. Traffic from New York to Florida would come a block over along Church Street. Then there was US 301, and after that, I-95. So with the rise of people driving automobiles and the commerce following those larger roadways, downtown kind of suffered from that. But we're bringing it back. With the Residential Production Grant, we are offering $7,500 per residential unit created, up to a maximum of $150,000. So a developer wanting to do housing in Rocky Mount, we have incentives for, I think that's 20 units that will aid in their project. Also, we have a downtown building assistance program, which is a 50% matching grant up to $40,000 for the interior and exterior improvements to buildings along our main street and adjacent blocks. Also, the Accelerated Facade Improvement Grant. This is a $5,000 non-matching grant designed to expedite access and stimulate downtown recovery and revitalization activity. Also, another tool that we utilize is the Downtown Incentive Grant. So when an investor comes in and buys a building and rehabs it, obviously that's great. And the taxes, in turn, are going to rise. The tax value of that property will rise. So this incentive grant is designed to kind of stagger in that increase. The first year, 100% of the increased value is credited. Don't quote me on the exact terms because there is some legalese involved with whether it's credited or rebated, but in 100% that first year, 80% the second year, on down through the incentive tapering off after 5 years. But that, again, enables an investor to not see that big hit all at one time that they would on the taxes. The downtown roof repair and replacement grant. These are funds in place to reimburse 50% of roof repair costs up to a maximum of $20,000. I'm always surprised at the costs to do business, especially development. So all of these things are designed to, aid and mitigate those costs for people who want to bring business and help Rocky Mount re-energize our downtown. Last but not least are historic tax credits offered at the state and federal level. Rocky Mount, the downtown kind of grew up with the installation of the railroad about 110 years ago. So these buildings, we have to have all these things in place because the buildings are they're very aged. But I guess that's my time. But I feel like I've made good timing because But I appreciate you all's attention. As I understand it, we'll be moving into a question and answer session. So if you had any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for discussing the city's strategies and goals for downtown revitalization. We are pressed for time, so I would really like to encourage you, if you have questions, please write them down on the index card. We are actually going to continue moving through. We have 2 more speakers. But before we hear from those 2 additional speakers, I'd like for all of us to give our speakers a round of applause. They did an amazing job. And you all are free to leave the stage. And as they leave the stage and our 2 speakers come up, Reverend Joyner and Tanya Hasty, and Tawana Powell, you can take a brief moment to stretch your legs, go to the restroom if you need to. There's some snacks available as well. And we are going to continue with our last portion of the panel. All right, let's go. I hope you all have been enjoying the panel discussion so far. So now, we will learn about other community health initiatives in Rocky Mount. We're going to start with a discussion about healthy food access. A lack of access to fresh, healthy foods can contribute to poor diets and higher levels of obesity, as well as other diseases. As individuals and families aim to improve healthy eating, the demand for healthy produce will increase. Farmers and food businesses have an opportunity to meet this demand with expanded local production. We are extremely fortunate to have with us Reverend Richard Joyner, who is both a small farm producer and a member of City of Rocky Mount City Council. Reverend Joyner will share his views on how increasing food access can help address the problems of unemployment and lack of access to healthy foods simultaneously. Please welcome Reverend Richard Joyner.
Let me thank you so much, BMO. Thank you so much. Amen. Sharon, thank you. Ms. Martin, thank you for this privilege to be here. My colleagues, Reuben Blackwell, senior council person, he's the only one that can lock me up in a room for this long. No farmer stay in a room this long. So let me thank you so much. Food is critical to our survival. We've been doing food, started out doing food in Canita and transferred food into Rocky Mount. Food is critical. How many here grew up on a farm? Yeah. I grew up sharecropping. I never got my share of the crop. My father didn't either. And so we started out with this process over in Canita, a little east of here, Conto. We started out because our retired people income was $13,000 a year. And there was no way you could provide medicine, food, and housing on that process. So we started this garden now, started out with a quarter of an acre of a garden that now sits on 85 acres. And it belongs to the community. Thanks to Sue Perry and Reuben Blackwell, our Lamont Wiggins was here, that I preceded him after he had 20 years on the city council. We moved it to Rocky Mount. Short thing, we partnership with OIC to begin to look at how we take the mobile healthcare unit and prescription food out to the community. How many believe you can get healthy by what you eat and what you grow? And so we have testimonial process where 85-year Miss Bunch, that was 85-year-old now, she came off 21 medications, saved herself over $400 a month because she learned how to use food. And the Black Farmer Network that we're partnership with, we're doing community gardens up in Winston-Salem, High Point, in Greenville. Rosa were here a little early on. We're working with public housing, that we are doing gardens and public housing. We are doing workforce development through gardening and public housing. The first process is put food on your plate, food in the market, and reinvest. Our communities are making over $10,000 a week sometime now because they're harvesting 1,000 pounds of food a day, and it's managed by the Black community. Let me tell you something. You hear about all of the grants around food and food access coming from the USDA. 99% that money that is coming down is being stifled to people that don't look like us, that don't farm, don't grow no food, and not getting the money to where the work is being done. Through Don Davis leading, we are now through the Black Farmer Network is bringing that money to the black community where it should have been decades ago, 100 years ago, before America was started, so we could have access to not only fresh, affordable food, but the money that it produced. And so we're excited about having this process in Rocky Mount, that we, with housing and with fresh, affordable food, what will happen if I eradicate your mortgage, I eradicate your food, and take you off synthetic medicine and help you to live longer so you can have generational health and wealth in the same community. And let me tell you something, black elected officials, we got to change the policies that have been robbing us of the opportunities that we've been given, right? We have 5 blacks on the city council, thanks to Sue Perry and others that got it to where it needs to be. Now the only thing we got to do, not only get us on the city council, we got to force us to work together to appreciate the level of work that was done to get us there. And so I'm here. I'm excited about what we're doing. I encourage all of us to stop letting people bring food in, bring vegetables and stuff in your community, forcing your community to stand in a line for stuff that they didn't produce, and when they stop bringing it and the line is over, you don't have access to food. The only true access to food is that you grow, that you market, and that you reinvest. Right? Right? Stop taking the cheap way out. Grow your own food, create your own health, maintain your own market, and control your own community to access to fresh, affordable food. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Joyner, for your inspiring remarks and for your leadership in this city. Our next topic of discussion is on inner city health initiatives. Increasing rates of chronic diseases exacerbated by urban food deserts demonstrate the need for healthier food options for all residents. Next, we will hear from Tanya Hasty, who is a health professional and a program manager for outreach at OIC of Rocky Mount. We will also hear from Tawana Powell, who is a respiratory therapist and an outreach professional at OIC. They will both share how OIC of Rocky Mount, which operates a federally qualified health center, is addressing the social and economic determinants that may cause some Rocky Mount residents to experience higher rates of illnesses, such as heart disease, diabetes, and other chronic conditions. Please welcome Tanya Hasty and Tawana Powell.
Good afternoon. My name is Tawana Powell. This is Tanya Hasty. We're just going to tell a little bit on how we met, how this initiative came between me and Tanya and OIC. Me and Tanya came from a large medical facility. I was the head respiratory therapist. She was the ICU manager. This was at the height of COVID. We've seen things going on with COVID that many people in this room have not seen. Things that we took home when we left work. I decided after 14 years to come out of the hospital and come into my community. Once I came to OIC, medical director at OIC asked me about an initiative with OIC and the Rocky Mount Housing Authority. So we needed a project manager. I said, I have a perfect one, Tanya Hasty. And he said, great, let's bring Tanya on. So that's what we did. We brought Tanya on, and one of OIC mottos is help others to help themselves. One thing OIC has done for Tanya Hasty is help her get her nurse practitioner while under OIC leadership. And this is to bring healthcare to our community. We have a mobile unit that we bring healthcare to neighborhoods. Tanya's a nurse practitioner. I'm the respiratory therapist. We vaccinated over 70% of the housing authority. We went into homes that nobody wants to go into. We talked to people that are ignored because when they had COVID, we went into homes. We did things that other people would not do because they were scared, because of our color, because of my color, but she's my color too. But a lot of people were scared, and a lot of black people were ignored. A lot of black people were treated unfair during COVID. We went into homes, we treated families. Again, we vaccinated over 70% of the housing authority. And we owe our presence to OIC and to our community. And again, like I said, I just really want to introduce Tanya and thank y'all for this opportunity, for even listening to us and bringing OIC to the forefront. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tawana. And yes, we are honored to be here and to be able to brag about OIC. I was asked to talk about inner city health initiatives, and they are defined as programs, projects, and policies aimed at improving and well-being of residents living in urban or inner city areas. These initiatives typically target underserved and economically disadvantaged populations who may face unique health challenges due to a range of factors, including poverty, limited access to health care services, environmental hazards, and social determinants of health. Some common components locally include access to health care. This means improving access to quality health care services is a primary focus of many initiatives. It involves establishing community health clinics, mobile health units, and partnerships with existing health care providers to ensure that residents have easy access to medical services. OIC has done this by launching 3 mobile units, strategically placing clinics throughout Nash and Edgecombe counties and now Martin County, and building relationships with other healthcare providers like Nash UNC. The second common component is preventative health care. This is promoting preventative measures such as vaccination, screening, and health education to identify and address health issues before they become more serious problems. OIC has already done that. We provided numerous vaccination clinics in various locations, including mobile vaccination clinics. We were able to vaccinate over 70% of Rocky Mount Housing Authority residents, as Tawana mentioned. This was during the midst of a pandemic. The third is chronic disease management, and that is providing resources and support for managing chronic health conditions prevalent in inner city populations, such as diabetes, hypertension, and obesity. OIC has chronic disease programs in place that continuously work to coordinate care for residents suffering from chronic diseases by arranging transportation, providing education, assisting with medication, and social determinants of health that are barriers to managing these chronic diseases. The fourth is mental health support, addressing mental health issues and offering counseling, therapy, and support groups to help individuals cope with stress, trauma, or other psychological challenges. OIC has our own behavioral health department that offers counseling, therapy, and other treatments for mental health. The fifth is substance abuse and addiction services. That is offering programs to address drug and alcohol abuse, including rehabilitation and counseling. OIC Behavioral Health addresses and works with those struggling with addictions. The sixth is nutrition and food security. As Reverend Joyner spoke, food is medicine. Implementing initiatives to increase access to healthy and affordable food options, particularly in areas considered food deserts. OIC works in collaboration with Kanita Family Life Center, local farmers, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and even the public school system to improve food insecurities and promote nutrition. We have also employed a registered dietitian for our patients to receive world-class nutrition counseling. The seventh is housing and environmental improvements. You've already heard a lot about that. Addressing issues related to substandard housing and environmental hazards that can impact health, such as air pollution and lead exposure. OIC placed a clinic called Rocky inside of public housing to build a relationship between OIC and Rocky Mount Housing Authority to assist with environmental and health concerns of our residents. The eighth is health education, providing workshops and information sessions to increase health literacy and empower individuals to make healthier choices. OIC provides training and workforce development opportunities as resources to our community to give individuals the tools they need to enhance prosperity and stability. The ninth is collaboration with community organizations, working closely with local community organizations, nonprofits, and government agencies to tailor initiatives to specific needs of the community and ensure effective outreach. OIC has an excellent relationship with community organizations like United Community Ministries, Rocky Mount Housing Authority, the Bassett Center, My Sister's House, the Wright Center, Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, and local churches, just to name a few. The last is empowerment and advocacy, engaging community members and empowering them to participate in decision-making processes that affect their health and well-being. Advocacy efforts may focus on policy changes to address systemic health disparities. OIC encourages and assists everyone with finding their voice and making it heard. By implementing these types of initiatives, inner-city health programs seek to reduce health disparity and improve the overall quality of life for residents in underserved urban areas. These efforts are crucial in creating healthier and more equitable communities. I think we've been going on the slides as I was talking. I wasn't paying attention. But you'll see, OIC, we take a holistic approach. And to me, that means the whole person. And I like to explain that if someone is struggling with housing or they're struggling with food, then they're depressed, they're anxious, maybe they're struggling with job or education, which can cause stress, anxiety, hypertension. If we are struggling with healthy food choices, that causes obesity, which often leads to diabetes, hypertension, which in turn leads to stress and depression. All of the things, they're all related. So at OIC, we treat the person as a whole. My challenge is for everyone to learn about their local federally qualified healthcare center, to find out if they are doing great things like OIC, and to get involved and see how you can help to empower the underserved. Be the assistance they need to overcome the barriers that they face. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Tanya and Tawana, for sharing some of OIC's strategies for addressing social and economic determinants of health. Let's give our speakers another round of applause. Now, we are pressed for time, but I believe we can entertain a couple of questions. So if anyone has a couple of questions for our panelists. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Malcolm Beach from Kinston, North Carolina. Once upon a time, we had an OIC affiliate in Kinston. Is there something you still do to spread your programs to other cities? So can I speak on that? Yes, sir. I was very familiar with the OIC. I worked with them, unfortunately, because of things and so on in Kinston. But I've been contacted by people from your community. I've spoken with our national leadership, and if we're able to expand what we're doing across the state, Kinston is one of our next stops that we be collaborating with. So yes, sir, we're very That's right.
Thank you for your question. Do we have another question?
This is the question for Reverend Joyner. The price of eggs, I made a comment. City council meeting, I made a comment that the price of eggs, I'm going to put me in a chicken coop behind my house, and the police department is looking so it'll be legal. I heard some communities, they get around that. I don't know if that's true or not.
Rocky Mount, we did have a problem with people trying to take people chicken, but we have an aggressive city council. And now we have chickens in Rocky Mount. Might not be able to have a rooster, but you sure can have them that lay the eggs. So that is a policy and procedure, you know. If there's a policy that stands in the way of our citizens being productive, we're aggressive in taking care of it.
Great,
And
thank
you're
you.
City council person.
Thank you for your question. Well, this concludes our community wellness panel discussion. Thank you all again for attending. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your conference. Have a good day.